If you asked anyone in Cleveland, Ohio about 45-year-old Will Walker, you'd hear the exact same thing. He was a pillar of the community. He had spent decades earning that reputation through a long career in public service, eventually rising to the rank of lieutenant in the local fire department. He was the kind of guy people trusted with their lives. But despite his success and popularity, Will was carrying a heavy burden. After 8 years of dating, he had recently married his wife, Yuloma, because she had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Knowing their time together was short, Will made a massive life change. He started taping up cardboard boxes, preparing to move his family out of the busy city and into a quiet house in the suburbs where Yuloma could spend her final days in peace. It was a difficult choice. Will was heavily invested in his city neighborhood. He had raised kids there and worked the local fire lines for years. But he was willing to trade the community he loved for his dying wife's comfort. Will was doing everything he could to take care of his family. He had no way of knowing that his devotion was exactly what made him a target. On the evening of November 3rd, 2013, Will took a break from packing. His stomach was growling, so he offered to run out and grab dinner. Yuloma, who was resting on the couch, chatting on the phone with her teenage daughter, agreed that McDonald sounded perfect. A half hour later, at 8:30 p.m., Will pulled back into his driveway. He cut the engine and grabbed the food off the passenger seat. After checking the street to make sure the coast was clear, he walked across the driveway toward the back door of his house. As he slipped his key into the lock, footsteps rushed up behind him. 4 gunshots echoed through the dark, striking Will before he could even turn around. Hearing the noise, Yuloma ran to the back door and found her husband bleeding out on the pavement. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, but his injuries were too severe. Will Walker died in surgery. When the news reached Cleveland Police Detective Tom Lynch, he was stunned. A decorated firefighter had been executed in his own driveway, and the pressure from the department and the public to find a killer was immediate. But the facts on the ground didn't add up. Will was universally respected. Who orchestrates a lethal ambush against a man with no enemies? Detective Lynch started his investigation exactly where Will fell. He cordoned off the driveway, looking for any physical evidence the shooter might have left behind to escape. An officer quickly spotted a 9mm shell casing in the grass, then another and another. They formed a straight line leading to a dark, shielded gap between the back of the garage and the fence, a perfect hiding spot where the killer had waited in ambush. The location of the shells pointed to a specific neighbor, Eugene Cray. Just weeks earlier, Eugene had blocked Will's driveway while blasting music. The argument got so heated, Will actually brought out his handgun to force Eugene to leave. Lynch brought Eugene in for questioning. Eugene insisted he was at home listening to music on his headphones when the murder happened. It was a weak alibi, so Lynch casually asked him for a DNA swab to test against trace evidence found on the shell casings. Surprisingly, Eugene agreed. A few weeks later, the lab results came back. Eugene's DNA was not a match. The most obvious suspect was cleared, leaving the investigative team with nothing. With physical leads exhausted, Lynch shifted tactics and started digging through Will's financial records. That's when he uncovered a $100,000 life insurance policy. But the money wasn't slated to go to his new wife, Yuloma. Will had never updated the paperwork. The sole beneficiary listed was his ex-wife of 9 years, Rita Walker. The financial motive gave Lynch a new target. He pulled security footage from the neighborhood and found Rita's car driving just a few blocks from Will's house shortly before the gunshots were fired. During her interrogation, Rita changed her initial story, admitting she had gone back to the neighborhood that night. But she claimed she was only there to pick up a pair of shoes her son had left behind. Lynch pressured her to confess, but she refused to crack. Without a confession, the evidence against Rita was purely circumstantial. Lynch couldn't charge her. The leads dried up, the tips stopped coming in, and the investigation halted. 9 months went by. The case files gathered dust on Lynch's desk. It looked like the person who murdered a beloved community hero was going to walk away completely free. In December of 2014, the local firefighters union announced a $24,000 reward for information. Weeks later, a man from the neighborhood walked into the police precinct, sat down across from Detective Lynch, and hit play on his phone. It was an audio recording of several young men openly discussing the hit on Will Walker. The tape revealed that the shooter was a neighborhood kid named Ryan, who agreed to execute Will for exactly $800 and some marijuana. The audio exposed an entire chain of command. The shooter had been hired by a getaway driver, who was recruited by a guy named Chad. Chad was dating Will's teenage stepdaughter, Jackie. That meant the hit was coordinated from inside Will's own house. Remember that phone call Yuloma was having with Jackie when Will left for McDonald's? Yuloma was telling Jackie that Will was walking out the door, so the hit squad could get into position. The dying widow who found Will bleeding in the driveway was the mastermind of the entire plot. And she wasn't actually dying at all. Yuloma had faked her terminal cancer diagnosis specifically to guilt Will into marrying her, so she could claim his health benefits and his life insurance. For her role in orchestrating the murder, Yuloma was sentenced to life in prison. Her elaborate plan fell apart because of one massive oversight. She never realized that Will hadn't taken his ex-wife off the policy. Yuloma got nothing. The $100,000 went exactly where the paperwork said it would, to Rita, who was completely innocent and who used the money to support Will's children, fulfilling his final wish.